Welcome to the Pop-Off with Gene Fitzmagic and friends. Your daily sports and entertainment radio show, live all over the world. You're going to want to hear what these guys have to say. With their hot takes, recaps, previews, and predictions, sometimes these guys might get along, but most times, they won't. So see what happens when these guys pop off about the world of sports and entertainment.
Woo! Kids, we are doing it today on Tuesday, August 8th. And guess what? I'm coming in hot. I am Nigel Downer, and I'm going to be today's guest host for what is known as the Pop-Off Podcast. And of course, I'm with my illustrious comrades in arms. So let's just get into it. My boy, Caleeb, the Singularity Pinkett. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I cannot complain, brother. It is all good. Look at you. You stepping up in the world. You hosting things now.
Right.
Pretty soon you're going to be the new host of Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, everything.
Hey, don't even get me started on the commercials that I've done up here where I am a game show host. A lot of people are calling me the new Steve Harvey. So, I mean, that's a whole different thing. We can talk about that later.
You got to get the stash, though. You got to get rid of those.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, my man at the bottom of the screen, and who knows where the square is on your screen at home, but we got James, the mind bender, Wudi. What's up, bro? You good?
Hey, we out here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Yeah. All right. We're just having a good time. It's Tuesday. Ready to talk. Ready to talk this Tuesday.
That's it. And behind the scenes is my boy Patty. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what we normally do, have a lot of fun, talk about some sports. There might be a little bit of pop culture in the mix. We're going to find out. But without further ado, man, let's jump into that first topic, baby. And we all know we're going to talk about the Jake Paul versus Nat Diaz fight. Woo! That was something special. And you know what? I'm just going to hand it right over to my boy Caleeb. Let's get everything out of your system now, guy, because I know that you got a lot on this topic. So hit it. What'd you think? How'd you feel? What's your overall consensus of this fight?
Well, honestly, I was very surprised that Nate went all 10 rounds. I thought Jake was going to knock him out. Because, look, boxing is not MMA. It's different. When you can only throw your hands and you don't get to use elbows and knees and takedowns and all that, it really limits your game. It's literally like having one hand tied behind your back. And Jake has been boxing for a long time. Like, people, because he was on YouTube and all this stuff, people act like, and Disney Kid, that like he can't fight or something. That's a big, let me tell you something. That's down here in the States, we say that's a big corn-fed white boy. You know what I'm saying? Like he is thick, he's big, and he knows what he's doing. So when I saw Nate go down in the 5th round, I was like, okay, here he goes. It's about to get him. Because I predicted Jake was going to knock him out. It wasn't even, I wasn't expecting that. Nate is old. He is a warrior. He has been through it. He has way too many fights underneath his belt in the UFC. He has retired. So for him to come out and fight this young boy who's trying to knock everybody out, I was surprised. Now, I know he gave him a pretty penny to do so. Shout out to Jake Paul for that. He always takes care of the people he fights. That he does do. So we got to give him props for that. So Nate probably made as much money in one night against Jake as he did in his entire career as the UFC, or at least close. No, I wouldn't doubt it. You know what I mean? But it was a really good, it was good to see that, like, Nate is just that dude. Like, his ability to he's just a fighter. He just is. And so it was good in that sense. I thought Jake was picking on him. I was like, why would you fight Nate? Like, he's done. Like, you know what I mean? But I get it. It's the name. Jake puts on these spectacles, but it was a fight. And Nate was giving Jake some business in there. Like, he was catching him with punches. Jake was getting hit with stuff he shouldn't be hit by a dude who doesn't box. Now, I understand somebody will say, no, Nate does box. Yes, but it's different. 4-ounce gloves is way different than 8 to 12. You know what I mean? Like it's a way different thing. The speed is different, everything. And for Nate to go in there and do what he did, I was surprised and happy for him. So shout out Nate Diaz. Relax, brother. Spend your money well. I know you will enjoy it. And it was that. But it was an exhibition fight. Like, it wasn't like I wasn't looking at it like a Spence Crawford fight or something in the MMA. Like, it's not that, you know what I mean? It was for pure spectacle, and it worked. It did what it was supposed to do for them. So outside, I don't have nothing bad to say about it. I was very surprised that Nate lasted, and there's that.
Solid. Wudi, let's get your take overall, and then I'm going to ask some more pointed questions. But what do you think? What's your observation, my guy?
I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting Nate to win. I didn't think Nate he was gonna knock Jake out. Right. He doesn't really have that or maybe like a TKO, like kind of like what happened with Floyd and Conor, where like Conor wasn't knocked out, but there was just, he was almost like out on his feet type stuff. Because here's the thing, and this is why I love the Diaz brothers. Cardio. These boys do not run out of energy. They do decathlons in their spare time. Like that, their hobby. Let's do a decathlon. Their cardio is endless. Nate's chin, I feel like it's well documented from his UFC days, is elite. And he went out on top. Like I wouldn't put him in the same category as like Askren or Woodley or Silva, who like at the time that they fought Jake Paul, like they were literally like done in can't win a fight in UFC. Right. So Nate Diaz's last image in UFC was like this, Tony Ferguson. So I was expecting some work. I'm not gonna lie, those first 3 rounds did not look good, for the Nate fans out there, Stockton zone. And then the knockdown in the 5th round, I was like, ooh, if he can get out of this round though, he'll be back, right? That's what I said, and that's what happened, right? Then he came back. But the thing about Nate, I actually think he could have won that fight. But the man, he plays with his food, I got a 2-year-old son that says, stop playing with your food, man. I need to tell that to Nate as well. Because the boy, like, once he starts feeling himself, he's just playing. And I actually don't think at any point he came in to the night saying, I'm going to win. He's like, I'm going to have fun and I'm going to get paid. Caleb's point is 100% correct. I think you can compare his entire UFC earnings to what he made that night. Yeah, probably. So he's having a good time, but I'm like, if he just – and there are UFC fights that was the same way. Like, he was getting destroyed by Leon Edwards, and then he rocks Leon Edwards. Instead of jumping on the kill, he's just like laughs at him, flips him off, and gets, and the crowd loves that. But the judges, the scorecards. So it's tough being a Nate Diaz fan because he doesn't take advantage of his opportunities. But it was definitely a fun fight. Kudos to Jake Paul. Getting more eyes on stuff like this. Like because of that fight, now more people watch Amanda Serrano. And some of the lower card,
right.
people. So it was a good time. I was glad to be watching.
Yeah, you guys both touched on a couple of things I thought was really interesting. As we all know, MMA and boxing isn't my forte, but I do jump on it and I get on it for the love of this podcast. So I did a lot of research and I watched a lot of recaps. And a couple of interesting things that came up was like Diaz it couldn't have been more stereotypical of Jake Paul, like in terms of being a YouTube personality when it came to the post conference. If you saw anything from the post conference, it's like he didn't even have a fight. He's like he was just posting another video that he's got to put on for next Tuesday. Like it was bananas how he was just kind of talking about it. One of the quotes that I pulled was and when we was talking about Diaz and how the fight went further than he thought it was going to be, Jake Paul's like, I don't know how he survived the first round, but he's a dog, and I walked the dog. And I'm like it's such an aggressive quote from my guy. And then Diaz, he was the complete opposite, had his sunglasses on, his voice was super raspy, and it's almost like, are you a little high? Are you high? What's happening?
Of course.
He's just like,
you don't know Nate.
Yeah.
You don't know Nate.
Yeah, true.
Nate will smoke on his way to the ring. He's one of them. Oh yeah, don't get it twisted.
Definitely.
Right? So he was like, what did he say? He had a bunch of different things. Oh, one of my favorite answers from him, because they asked him hey, you know what? He took a lot of pauses. If you guys noted, he had a lot of pauses. He was talking to the crowd a little bit, doing some crowd work and getting things a little hype. And it was almost jarring because you weren't sure where he was at. But so one of the reporters asked him, hey, if you didn't do that stuff, if you just plowed through the fight, do you think you would have won? And he just kind of took a pause and was like, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And that was it. And that was it. So it's like, you have two very different people going at it toe to toe, and you get that kind of thing, which I was very impressed with. How did you think, if you were to put money on it, who did you think was going to win before we saw who actually won before the fight?
I was betting on Jake Paul to win that because it's boxing. It's different. It's like hands behind your back. Why do you think Nate's like, Because he's like, if this was a real fight.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what he really wanted to say.
He did say
it. Was a real fight. I beat what? Right? But it's like, okay, you put my hand behind my back and okay, I'll go out there and dance with you. Okay. That's how these guys look at that stuff. Like, Francis Ngannou is acting like he really wants to, like that he can beat Tyson Fury. No, you can't. Not in boxing. Now you might get lucky because you got power and be able to crack him. We saw what Deontay Wilder was able to do. But Tyson got back up. You forget Tyson's 6'9", 285 pounds in shape. In shape, he's at 285. He walk around at 330. You know what I mean? It's a big man. You know what I mean? Just period. Just pure man. I'm not saying Francis isn't big, but I'm just saying, like, people forget about that. And he's using that jab, keeping you off. It's hard. Boxing is a completely different thing. So, I say that to say I definitely thought Jake was going to win. And he did. I thought he was going to knock him out, which is what surprised me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Was that Nate was able to handle it. And like I said, when I saw him go down in the fifth, I was like, oh. But again, to your first point, when you were talking about Jake Paul and how he did the press conference and stuff, here's what people have to understand. You are an entertainer. In anything that you do, you are an entertainer first before you're the athlete. You can play the sport and be the athlete first and let your game speak for you. That's cool. But you get Kawhi Leonard when you do that. But when you are an entertainer, you become Conor McGregor. You get these other things. Now you get all kinds of things that come to you when you're an entertainer because you are there to entertain the people while doing what you do, right? So and that's why in sports, like when the NFL, they called it the no fun league. Like you want us to go out there and do this stuff, but we can't be like the characters that people like. Deion Sanders created prime time. Yeah. That was an alter ego. You know what I mean? It's like that. Oscar De La Hoya had his thing. Mayweather had his. Ali had his. You know what I mean? Like the guys that you remember, they're entertainers. They're great at what they do, but they also know how to entertain. Jordan entertained just by sticking his tongue out. Nobody saw nothing, so that's trolling you, as the kids would say, while he's playing because his tongue is out while he's doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mike Tyson, the twitch and going in there like that and grabbing himself and calling you F words and you're going to love it and all this kind. Like, people are like, right? Because it's a form of entertainment. So Jake knows that inherently. So he's entertaining no matter what. He's a dog, but I walk. So he's showing respect, but saying, yeah, he's a dog, but I walk dogs, right? Yeah. So it's, you know what I mean? It's all selling. That's why I said the best WWE. I hate when people say, I'm like, it's the WWF when I'm referring to it. But yeah, those guys know what they're doing. When you take a little bit of that, yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, Wudi, what are you thinking? Like, listen, I think we all know. If we don't know by now, I'm gonna let you know. There's a little bit of Canadiana in this whole thing, and that Canadiana is that Drake dropped $250K, and this wager was to go for Diaz. He was like, Diaz is gonna beat Jake Paul. $250K, boom, no problem. He would have won $1 million. Yeah, $1 million. Wudi, how much are you spending? How much are you hoping to turn over? If you bet on Jake Paul or if you bet on Diaz, how much are you willing to spend?
Well, Drake is curse. As soon as I saw that bet, I had to put my money away because the Drake curse is real. Couldn't be more real. But I was literally betting on Nate, and I actually feel like the way it transpired validated my beliefs. Like if Nate just tried, man, like he would have had him in those late rounds. Like there was nothing that Jake was doing in in rounds 8, 9, and 10. And little known fact, it was supposed to be an 8-round fight. It was the Diaz camp that said, "Oh, no, let's go 10. Let's go 10." Because he's like this. He could go 20 rounds. Like the stamina, like that cannot be understated. What he goes through or what he does so that in those late rounds, he is still fresh. Jake was not fresh. You saw the evolution of Jake. So I was pretty confident. I would have bet. I don't know. I don't want to say, because I don't really gamble like that. But I was pretty confident in my bet. I would, you know what? I'll take a lot of the zeros away from Drake's bet. 250. I was gonna bet 250, but then I saw Drake do it. I was like, oh nah. Now I know Nate might die in there with that.
Yeah, Drake is notorious for putting on bets, and whoever he bets on loses. Like it's a thing now, and we all kind of shy away from it. But speaking of something that we want to glam onto, preseason's here, baby. Let's jump to some NFL because it's whether you like it or not, however you feel about preseason, it happened. Last Thursday, we had the 2023 Hall of Fame game with the Jets versus the Browns. Let's get this one out of the way real quick because it's more Jets talk from, there's 1/3 of us is a Jets fan. So you know what? I'm going to start with Wudi. The Browns ended up winning 21-16. Walk me through the game, man. How'd you feel? Did you watch it? I should ask that first.
Just like, the whole world stopped to that night. It was
there you go.
Football. First Jets football of the year 2023, because as you know, we never made the playoffs. So this was a big deal in the Wudi household. There were things that I liked. There are things that I didn't like. Zach Wilson still kind of looking like a bum to me. So I'm very nervous if Aaron has a hangnail. I was telling the group chat that I got, with my Jets buddies. I was like, we need to put this man in bubble wrap. We cannot afford any sort of injury because we don't have anybody. But one thing that I really liked from the Jet defense, the linebackers, it's something that I've actually talked about on this show when trying to explain my points to Gene. But I really liked them. They forced a fumble and they got an interception. Two different our LB3 and our LB4. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's why we didn't go after somebody in free agency because they, the coaches, right? I'm not in the building. I don't see what's going on, but the coaches see these guys and maybe they're saying that they're ready to make that next step. The Browns on that side of things, obviously they got the win. It did not look that good, and for some reason I'm forgetting his name right now. The QB that started for them right now.
Oh, the young brother.
Yes,
I literally cannot. Kellen Mond, thank you. Patty, thank you, Patty for the win. Yeah. Kellen Mond, he was not doing that great. But when DTR came in and they were doing that read option, oh my God, it was electric. So that almost like sparked something within me in terms of Deshaun Watson, right? Because now we're also, as preseason starts, we're also scouting, fantasy, who are the sleepers, who we're gonna pick up in our league. Mm-hmm. And if they do that read option stuff with Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb.
We lost Wudi. His soul just left his building. His soul just left.
It's just unbelievable. I can't even imagine. Like the league is in trouble. So I don't know if that was like to kind of put everybody on notice. Like, hey, we got some new plays now because now we have an athletic QB. Right. But we saw DTR execute. So I'm pretty excited, to see what they do with the starting lineup once the regular season rolls around.
Solid. Caleb, hit me. What'd you think, man?
You know what? I liked the game, right? Like I wanted to see who else was on these teams playing. I was most impressed with DTR. I have to give him his props. Like I was like, yo, you might have moved up in the depth chart. right? Because it was that kind of performance. Like he looked great out there. I was disappointed because, I said it before. I thought Aaron should have at least done one series. Same thing with Deshaun. I just feel like reps are important. But then again, after what happened with Mr. Burrow in just a practice, you don't want to risk that with those two guys. So I get it. So I guess the idea is to wait for the first week and then it could happen, right? Because those things, it's football, you know what I mean? And I just feel like reps are important, but I do understand the precautions. But the game was enjoyable. I liked watching the guys. I love watching the people playing for position, because that's really what it is. The starters, they come in, they may do a series, right? If that. But the second, third, and fourth stringers are really out there trying to show themselves. And that was entertaining. That was good to see. I wasn't mad at Mr. Wilson throwing. I think it was a 65-yard touchdown pass. I mean, hey, he ain't going to play Norway. It's good to see him at least, you know what I'm saying? He threw a little something. It's like, hey, so that was cool. But I enjoy the preseason just to see who's gonna like Wudi said, for your fantasy. I don't even play fantasy football, but I like watching that, and I probably should change that. I just don't. My friends got leagues. I just never join them because I don't know. But I think it was good. I felt the Browns, even though they won, I agree with Wudi. I'm not sure, so I'm hoping that they ball out, like that they do something, because I actually want to see that AFC North division really go, because I feel like it's wide open, especially with the injury to Burrow. So a lot of things didn't happen. So I wanted to see the Browns be competitive. I don't want to see them in last place with Deshaun. I just don't. So I'm hoping that, they do something. So outside of that, it was a good game. I haven't seen my boys yet. I'll be looking for that. You know what I'm saying, to see what they do. And I'm excited to see a lot of the teams in preseason, though, just to see who they have coming up. Not so much the starters, but the people that are going to be in there coming after them when they need, help and all that. I want to see where those guys are at and what they're doing, because that's where you really see the level of coaching. So, yeah, it was definitely fun.
Absolutely. And listen, man, if this game is any indication, and the vibe that I'm getting from you two gentlemen, if this is any indication of what the season is going to be like, this game had 6.3 million viewers. It had more people watching than the NBA average during the playoffs. This is already high. And we knew Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing, and still the people tuned in because they know there's a lot. I don't want to say at stake here, but there's a lot of energy around these new Jets, around this different this Browns team. There's a lot of things that are at stake and that people are willing to watch and willing to forego any other thing in their lives to do. And on top of that, Caleeb, you had mentioned the Wilson play. Yeah, it was 57 yards. And also Rodgers called that play. Rodgers was on the sideline with headphones, and he called that play. Boom, resulting in a 57-yard completion to Malik. So it's Malik Taylor. So, I mean, it's not bad to have the guy on the sidelines, but we also cannot wait to get him in the green, I'm assuming, right?
Well,
right,
so one thing I will say, though,
perfectly
to the 6 million, how much I can't say, but I'm willing to bet half of that is just because it's freaking football. Just cut it on. Football's on. Football, right? It's like that in America, right? Yeah. I'm sure in other countries where soccer is number one, if a soccer game is on, it doesn't matter who's playing. Just cut it on. Soccer's on, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I feel like half of it was that. And the other people, half that was watching for the teams, half of them didn't know Aaron wasn't playing. They turned to see because they thought he was going to play. We take for granted how much we think people watch sports stuff just because we do. Yeah. That people don't be watching. They don't know. They're like, oh, the Jets. Oh, isn't Aaron Rodgers playing?
Yeah.
Where's Aaron?
Yeah.
Who's the cute white boy? They're like, that's the old quarterback. People are asking questions like that. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. We thought the guy with the massage guy was playing. No, he's not in there either. That's how much with football. I'd say 60% of the people that watch it at these things are casual. only 40% actually know what's going on, who the people are, all that. I'm like, and it's probably less than that when you really think, like, the Super Bowl has hundreds of millions of people watching it. How many of them? What team? Where's the Eagles from? Like, people don't know. It's just they just cut it on. I'm serious. Like,
no, for the Super Bowl, it's like 90% is casual.
Yeah, because it's just the fever, the fever of football. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so I think that had a little bit, and that's an indication to show what this season is going to be doing in ratings. Why YouTube got that crazy deal with the NFL, like to have just the games. I had to get it. You know what I mean? Because I have to see every game. I just have to know I can watch it. I may not watch every game. I just have to know. If I decided to, I can.
Yeah. Just the ability of being like, if I wanted to.
You have no idea how much that means something in your mind as a person. And I'm not talking about just football. With anything in your life, when you know you can't and when you know you can, how different you react. You know what I mean? It's that pizza is so, you have to have it when you know you can't. When you know you can't, you're like, I'll get a slice later. You know what I mean? Like, I'm serious. So,
And that's exactly why I'm starting to buy 2 action figures instead of 1. 2 of the same figure, because now I know I can open one. I know I can open one, but then the other one is going to stay in the box. I don't need 2. Guys, I don't need 2. I never need 2, but I do it anyway. Another thing, too, that's a great comparison, Caleb, because if we want to talk about those kind of games, we're talking about also the MLS game, the All-Star game that just happened a couple weeks ago. It was in Washington, D.C., MLS All-Star, so all the guys voted up from all across the league are playing my boys, the Gunners, Arsenal Gunners, shout out to North London, and it was packed. It was sold out, and it was mostly Arsenal Gunner uniforms. If you pan the audience, you watch the game, which I did, it's literally almost all Gunners. And to your point, these are people that are either from out of town coming in because they know Arsenal is there, or they're like, they're coming from Europe. They don't get a chance to see them, but they're like, let's make it a vacation. We can go to the nation's capital and we can go watch our team. So it is a lot of that. So you're right. Half of the people that are watching are just watching it for one side of the sport or for whatever reasons, right? So it is what it is.
I think so.
Yeah. Absolutely. Any last things on that, Wudi? So how are you feeling about going into I don't want to say the real preseason, but like preseason. That was preseason.
No, yeah, I'm feeling good. Again, hating every quarterback not named Aaron. Like I hate that we're like literally a hangnail away or a stub toe. Like I hope his furniture is all in the right place. I don't need anybody stubbing toes. So it's that's my only fear there. But everything else, the whole team, let's go. Hard Knocks tonight on HBO.
Episode 1 tonight?
Episode 1 tonight.
Woo! Guess we got something to talk about on Thursday, baby.
Yeah, definitely gonna check it out. I'll check
it out.
I literally got ribs and like pulled pork, like slow cooking right now. So,
he said slow cooking. I started these last week.
Yeah. What? Give me the spread. What's the spread tonight? What are you laying out? So you got ribs and what else?
Yeah, we got ribs. We got pulled pork. All right, my wife, she's gonna be making some mac and cheese. We eating like kings tonight. Watching seeing our team featured nationally on HBO. I don't know what else we got other than that. I know we got the mac and cheese, pulled pork. We got ribs. We might get some sides in there, probably some vegetables. Right. I love it. No, we it's a big night. It's a big night for us.
I love it. Speaking of big nights or big days, let's talk about Cam Jordan. He had a big day on Friday. This guy signs an extension. We're talking about 2-year deal, $27.5 million guaranteed. Caleb, let's talk about it.
What's so funny? Because it's great for Cam. Shout out to Cam Jordan. $27 million guaranteed. Nobody's gonna, bat an eye at that. Anthony Davis just signed for 3 years for $186 million guaranteed.
Yep.
$62 million a season. And has played, I think it's 100. I think he's missed over 100 games out of the last like 2 seasons, and there's only 82 a season. So basically, he's missed a whole season in the last 2 seasons and merits this kind of money. These are the kinds of things. I'm not hating on nobody getting their money, but damn. Cam Jordan gets $27 million, and I'll tell you this because people will say, "Well, it's the value." Hold on, the NFL, if the NFL made the money that the NBA does, the NFL owners would cry. They'd be like, "What is going on? Oh my God!" You know what I mean? So they make way more money in the NFL, and this is what these guys are getting. Like 3 seasons, $186 million. You saw Jalen Brown, 5 seasons, $330 million. Like, dude, and I understand it's but wow. Like the NFL got it good, where you can make so much more money than everybody else. And I think there was a stat like the NFL makes more than the NBA, the major baseball and like hockey combined or something. Like it's insane. And I don't know if it's that much, but it's close, right? And you can't, and these dudes can't. You know what I mean? Like and Saquon Barkley can't get $20 million. Yeah.
That's the talking point because I was gonna bring that up, which is bananas because
damn man, like it's crazy to me.
Yeah, and to your point too, it's like. So the Saints and Cam, they come to this agreement, and we're talking about like this is a record. Like so getting this kind of money for him, he's 34 years old. This new contract offers the most guaranteed and average salary in NFL history for a defensive player his age. It's nuts. That is just that's what it is.
$27 million.
Yeah. Wudi, thoughts on money? Thoughts on Cam and the Saints? What do you think? Is it good?
I was happy, happy for Cam. Definitely want to echo that. And honestly, loyalty, it's something that hard to come by in all sports, but I feel like the NFL is especially cruel to its players. Like, oh, he's done. So to have Cam at that, that stat that you just said, Nigel, is kind of a testament to that mindset. That he's 34. This return is not going to be worth any investment over, X amount. So to see the Saints who are trying to be competitive, like they're not tanking this year. They actually have pretty.
Because they know they could actually win that division easily.
Yeah, exactly. so to make that investment in that type of player, like that warms my heart because too many times, especially in the NFL, they're just torn aside or thrown aside, or sometimes I'm going to bring it to the NBA, being loyal to like Kobe's last years in the league.
Yeah,
like it was not great. Like so sometimes there's 2 sides to that. I would even say in the NFL, like the Giants kind of did that with Eli. Like they could have moved forward, but they chose to be loyal and they suffered for it. But here with Cam Jordan, I think it's actually the best of both worlds. I think they're being loyal. Like Cam feels good. He's getting paid, breaking records. But I think the Saints will also benefit and still be a good team. They're not going to suffer for this loyal investment.
Speaking of loyalty, one of the biggest things that, Cam wanted to emphasize during his press conference in signing this deal, he had his family there. And the big exclamation point to this whole thing was that he wanted to finish his career in New Orleans. He wanted to be a lifelong Saint until he retires because he wanted to emulate his dad. And his dad was a tight end for the Vikings and did the same thing, played his whole career with one franchise, with one team. Caleeb, how much does that mean to the franchise? Wudi touched on that a little bit. I want you to go a little further. How much does that mean to the Saints, to their defense, and to the overall play of the Saints? Because you just said it yourself that they could beat everybody up in that division. So what does that mean to have Cam stay around, to have Cam Jordan stay around?
I think it's major for the organization and the camaraderie of the team, right? Because what that does is it makes young players say, "Ooh, here they respect your contribution. Like you give them, you shed blood on the battlefield for them, they gonna respect it, right? Because teams like Wudi was saying, they don't. So I think that does wonders for your team because it becomes a marketing tool or something that grabs people where you come play for us, we'll take care of you here. Like you give us these years, we gonna pay you when you technically wouldn't deserve it, right? Like according to our algorithms, right? You shouldn't garner this amount of money at this age for that position. But because you got blood on the field out there, and we've been there with you, we're gonna respect it and we're gonna pay you. That's hence what happened with Kobe, all of that, right? And he deserved that because he delivered 5 titles to them. I don't care. Oh, he's with Shaq. Shut up. He won them, right? So, and he won 2 without him. So there's that. But the point is, it's like Cam has been there and he's been a dog. Like Cam, in his prime, he would get the kind of money that Aaron Donald and them get. People forget Cam Jordan was a monster in his prime. They just weren't paying that position like that at that time. He would have absolutely deserved that. Absolutely. A Cam Jordan now, like he would be getting Hargrove money. He'd be getting what's homeboy we just got? I always forget his name. The brother from Georgia on the Eagles now. The defensive tackle. You know what I'm talking
Jordan
about.
Davis. But he didn't get paid yet though. He's just like he's on the rookie deal.
Yeah, the rookie, but he's going to. Like these guys, like, you know what I mean? So again, I think it's wonderful, but I think it does more for the team as a rallying cry and a marketing tool. Like you'll make people want to play for your organization because they see how you treat your vets. Definitely. So I think that's a big thing in a business where loyalty is almost non-existent.
Exactly.
So you have Cam on the left side, and you have a young gentleman named Carl Granderson who's on the right side. He's had 30 solo tackles, 5.5 sacks, and then as we know, Cam Jordan just a beast. He's on the other side with 40 solo and like 8.5 or something ridiculous sacks. So Wudi, when you see the exterior of this defensive line, what do you think the interior is going to do? How well do you think the Saints are going to make a push defensively to do some damage? Because the interior of the defense is okay. It's not great, but it's okay.
I like the defense. I think I was really high on it last year because last year they got my boy Marcus May as a safety, and they got Honey Badger, one of my favorite safeties in the whole football. So I was really high on them. Lattimore, was still there. So they have pieces everywhere, but they didn't really perform that well. So hopefully this year. I don't know if it's just learning the new system because that was their first year without Sean Payton. So maybe now they'd be a little bit better. But for the line specifically, like to answer your question, it should be decent. The thing that I always look at when I like to answer that question are the offensive lines of the rest of the division. And unfortunately, all 3 of them are on the come up. Or actually, let me not say that. The Panthers and the Falcons offensive lines are on the come up. Yeah. The Buccaneers, they're not coming up, but they still have a lot of pieces left over from Brady, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, where it's like, I would definitely not draft the Saints defense in fantasy. I wouldn't expect, anything flashy from the Saints defense. They have good players, so they're not trash. Right. But, I feel like they don't match up that well against their division.
Sweet. Love it. Great answer. Speaking of matchups, the Broncos and the Chiefs, they're both interested in said Josh Jacobs. I mean, this is dangerous because right now Josh Jacobs is kind of out in the ether, right? I mean, this guy, he's got to do something, or does he have to do something? Caleeb, give me some insight on the Broncos and Chiefs being interested in the running back Josh Jacobs, who plays for the Las Vegas Raiders. What do you think?
It's funny that it's 2 teams in his own division.
Yep.
That's very interesting. And that makes sense because they're like, no, we know how good this guy is. Right? Like, so there's that. And if I was Jacobs, I would absolutely choose Mahomes over Wilson. I just would. Definitely. Now, the Broncos may outpay who knows? I don't know, because I'm sure Jacobs is gonna go who writes the biggest check, because that's what his issue is. It's the money. So I already know. But if the money was equal, I'd say go to KC. You have more of a shot to win, and I think you have a better environment. Now, I can't really say that fully because I don't know what Peyton is doing outside of trolling Jets and all of that, which I think is stupid, because I think he should be better than that. But it's just showing nobody is above clout and seeking it. So there's that. But I will say, if I was Jacobs, I would go to the Chiefs, because I think their offense is better set for that. And I think he would do better, because they have to worry about Kelsey and they have to worry about Mahomes running. So it keeps everybody off. And then you got that powerhouse coming. Like, that's a nasty combination versus Russell Wilson. Nobody's really concerned with Russ, and they're not in terrible fear of the tight end of the Broncos, right? Like they are with Kelsey, who demands attention. So that's going to pull linebackers. That's going to pull safeties. It's going to do stuff where you're getting people out the way. So there's less people there to stop a Jacobs, right? And we know he's a beast. So I would be looking at it like that if I was him for my career, a 1 or 2 year deal with them where you can get your stats up, pad the stats. Because again, as running back, you're trying to set that thing. So pad the stats up, try to get you a ring, or at least in competition for one. And then you're still young. Hopefully you can get a big contract. But I would, if I had to choose between the two, there's no question where I would go. And not simply because it's the Chiefs, but it's because of their system and how it's set up. And I think the environment or the energy around the team is different, because Andy Reid is a different type of dude. And everywhere he goes, his players love him. And it's always a good vibe. So that's where I would go if I was Jacobs, especially coming from a place where he felt unloved.
Mm-hmm. Woo.
Yeah.
All right, listen, Wudi, here's the deal. Does our boy Josh Jacobs, does he stay in the silver and black, or does he move to the red and yellow, or does he go over to the orange and blue? What's up, man?
Well, if the choice is indeed Jacobs, there is not a single syllable to add to what Caleb said. Like that's it. Like if the choice is Jacobs, that is it. Is it choice is? Because he's under contract, right? And they're trying to tag like that. That's the thing that gets tricky with these, because in the NBA, somebody can say, "Oh, I'm not playing, trade me," and they're gone.
And that's it. Yeah.
NFL doesn't quite work like that. There are holdouts and standoffs and tags, and like things usually get messy before. Like it's like I wouldn't expect him to be on a new team tomorrow or this month. So I would have to look a little bit more into some of those, what's the word? Like the fine print of the contract to see what can be manipulated. Because these organizations are also petty, right? So there's a whole bunch of different things that could happen. And I feel like if it was Jacob's choice, he would be, headed to Kansas City. Kansas City, here I come. But
he was under he was just under 1,700 yards for the season, 12 TDs, right? Now to your point, Wudi, he's faced with either signing for the tender of his contract, which would be $10.1 million for the 2023 season. He could be traded, or he could just sit out the year, because Vegas could also rescind, which is what you're talking about. They could rescind the franchise tag, right? And just allow him to become a free agent. So there's a whole bunch of options, but what is the smartest play for him, and how is it going to be most lucrative for him, and also get him the ball and be a baller like he is?
Yeah, I mean, and you know what's so funny about that is last year at this exact time, all the reports were that Josh McDaniels, the new coach there, and Jacobs weren't getting along. That Jacobs, despite being a stud, coming out of college, great, his first couple of years in the league, was getting demoted potentially in favor of like a scat back, somebody, who could, better hands than Josh Jacobs. Jacobs is now really known as like a dual threat. And then he had the season that he had, right? And all of that should have been under the bridge, right? And be like, all right, well, now we're moving forward. You just led the entire league in rushing yards, but that's not what it is. I still feel like, these guys are just power tripping. and still want people to fall in line. So Jacobs is not falling in line. It probably will end up looking like a holdout. Or like a sit out. So like he misses the season. I feel like that's probably what's going to end up happening. And then in free agency, now he has the freedom. I don't think it would just be limited to the AFC West. And at that time, so much will have changed with the NFL landscape. Like we don't know, if the Bills now are like, all right, we absolutely need a running back now, or any team. The Niners, actually they got McCaffrey now, so probably not. But like any team, literally any team who needs an elite running back will be knocking on his doorstep next year, because I don't think he's going to play. I think he even said something like, I will be like the martyr for this running back movement. So he's not playing.
Yeah, that's he's doing it. This is pure principle for him. It's just like, no, man, this is not going down. This is what I stand for. This is what I believe in. And this is, if it's a wrap for the season, then albeit it's a wrap for the season.
Then he has to stand on it, because one of the things that's real is when you decide you're going to stand on principle, or whatever that any decision that you're going to make for whatever reason that you believe in, you have to be willing to take the thing that comes with it, right? Ali stood on what he believed, and he suffered greatly for it. He gets respected for it now, but in his day, he was not. They were calling him a coward, draft dodger, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he had no money. He had to borrow money from Joe Frazier himself. That scene in Ali is not made up. That is real. He had to ask Joe Frazier for money, right? Needed to help him, and then jump out the car and start talking crazy to him because he has to sell the fight, because he's an entertainer, like I was saying earlier. Mm-hmm. So the point that I'm making is that when you make these stands, you gotta stick with them, because it's not gonna be easy. Even if you're right, that doesn't matter. The pain is still going to be there. That money is still going to be dwindling in your account, because everybody's life don't change just because you stop playing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? All of that. So that's where the rubber hits the road. That's when you see jokers, you know what I mean? It's jokers get to talking and then be like, you know what? That 10 million actually don't sound too bad. I think I'm going to go ahead. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what Saquon did.
Yeah, so if he's willing, God bless him and stick with it. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be rough. It's not gonna be an easy sit out.
And there hasn't been a lot of easy roads for the running backs. Now we're gonna jump into the Dalvin Cook situation. What is happening?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Shoot, Kareem Hunt is meeting with the Saints.
Yeah,
is he?
Yeah, he's meeting with the Saints.
That's a great move.
They're probably gonna try to get him. Kareem Hunt there is starting to look a little good. Like if they get him, yeah. But I know you asked about Dalvin. I have no clue. I cannot. I don't know what it is. Is it money? Like I have no idea. Or is it teams just like? Like I have no idea. But it's something, because for him to still not be signed is. And I thought it was a foregone conclusion that he was signing with the Jets. I was like, oh, yeah, that's happening. Aaron gave him $35 million and all that. Like what? Oh, yeah. But I don't know.
All I'm going to say is that if he goes to any other AFC East team, I will be punching air for a little bit of time. I don't understand. But like I'm okay. Like as a Jet fan, like I'm okay with Breece Hall, Michael Carter. Like I'm okay with the four that we have. One thing that to Caleb's point earlier about preseason and guys fighting for spots, the only Jets touchdown that was scored was by my boy Wakanda, Izzy Abanikanda. The rushing touchdown. It was a great run. He showed that burst. And that's somebody who, by Dalvin being there, is just pushed, on the chart. But maybe that, is his way in practice in these preseason games of showing the team, like, hey, you don't need Dalvin, right? We got Breece. I'm here. Let's go. Just stay out of the AFC East. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of the AFC East. That's all I got to say.
That's an interesting point, too, because I'm wondering if some of these running backs, and if we're going to see it more in preseason, if these running backs aren't signing, like these premier running backs, if they're not signing, they're holding out a little bit. If we're seeing some of the young kids or some of the people that have been, second, third, fourth string, if that gives them more motivation, not for the contract stuff, but just to play better, like to play like, their backside's on fire. You know what I mean? Do you think that may happen towards the beginning of preseason? Because I think everything's going to change a week before regular season starts. I feel like I feel like right now everything's just up in the air. Everything's up in the air. But I feel like before week 1 starts, as Caleeb says, rubber's getting the road, things are going to happen. Feelings, thoughts, Wudi?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would say that. I mean, because it's game time. Like now, all this hot potato, like that's going to have to stop because the season's ending. So I completely agree there. And I completely agree about the third, fourth, fifth string. Like that's just almost like human nature, social Darwinism, survival of the fittest,
Yeah.
If he's not here, well, I'm going to eat, that doesn't, it's more for me. So you are going to see that hunger. And honestly, that mindset, like that phenomenon is actually how we got here. That's how we got here. It's because running backs went down and the next ones stepped up and they did a good job. So now these owners are like, oh, maybe we just, get deep ones and stop paying these guys $40 million. And that's literally what happened. So I think we are in for more of that as we, keep playing these games with the premier running backs.
Yeah. Caleeb.
Well, I agree with Wudi as far as what he's talking about is how the owners are looking at it, right? And I think, and that's more to my point, what I was saying earlier about Cam and then bringing in Saquon is what's happening in the NFL is they're making even more money, but they're still paying less. Now they'll overpay for a quarterback all day long, right?
Yeah.
And I understand the reason behind that, and that's what the market is. But I do believe the high tide raises all boats. So it can't just raise one boat, but nothing else gets raised. Oh, and only corners, receivers, defensive ends, and quarterbacks get paid. What? But the league is making an additional $6 billion a year. Right. So that just, you know what I mean? Like everybody has to get a pay raise now. I mean, and left tackles. Sorry, forgot about them. Right. It's like you would think centers would get paid more. They're the one that got to take the ball and give it to the, you know how important that is? Like, if you want to talk about importance, you know what I mean? But again, I feel like everybody has to get paid. Like everybody's salary goes up. Like that's what it is. You're making more money. You gotta give more money to your employees. That's just part of it. And now I know the thing of business is to make as much as you can and pay the less amount that you can. True, but when it's professional sports and you're doing this and that position is so important. And it'll really happen when teams start losing to teams that have a running back that is doing those things for them. When you get a goal against a CMC and CMC scores that touchdown to get you, and you see he had over 150 yards total with rushing and receiving, and he caught 8 passes out the backfield and then rushed for it, right? And scored 2 touchdowns. Like you see how important that position is. So again, I feel like it should rise up, but it's what the owners don't want to do. They're not trying to share the profits as they should because they feel they don't have to. I'm not saying they're doing anything racist or anything like that, right? What I mean is that it's all business decisions, and where they feel like they don't have to pay, they are not. And I feel like, and that's wrong because you're making way more money than you ever have, ever. Right. So it just doesn't feel right to me. So that's just how I feel about that. Because I feel when you're generating money, you should pay. Of course, the women in the WNBA shouldn't get as much as Anthony Davis because the WNBA does not make the same amount of money. They get paid reasonably well for the amount of money that their organization generates. That's what that is, right? It's not sexist. It's not. If more people watched it, you would make more money. That's how it is. Nobody's complaining how much money Serena Williams was making. Want to know why? Because Serena Williams was garnering that much attention and money. That's why she made it. You know what I'm saying? My boy, TFO in tennis, I know I'm using tennis. He don't make nothing near what Serena was making. Why? Because he didn't generate the money Serena Williams was generating. It has nothing to do with your sex, whether you're male or female. It has to do with business and financial. It's the money generation. If you're making money, and I don't mean generation as in a time, I mean like generating. If you're not generating that much cash flow, you will not garner that much money. That's just the way it is in a capitalistic society when it comes to a business. So I feel like, to my point, the running backs are in a league that's making more money than they ever have, and they still can't get paid. That is the issue.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just got a master class in sports economics and socialism 101. The big word of the day was generate, and we were asked to generate a list of the QBs that were going to make the biggest improvement, the biggest improved leap in 2023. We need to generate some names right now. I'm going to generate the first one. I'm just going to get this one out of the way. Shout out to our boy Gene. It's going to be Mr. Sam Darnold. Let's just talk about him real quick, and then we're going to move on. Mr. Sam Darnold has to be number one, if not number two on this list. I mean, this guy's 26-year-old, and now he is partnered with Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. So this is going to be huge. It's going to be a big deal if he ends up getting playing time, which we all know he will. We just don't know where that will be in the depth chart. He's got one of the best offenses in football. I think that if he makes the improvement leap as soon as he touches that field, could be a wrap for everybody else. Real quick on this, and then I want to move on because I don't want to give Darnold a lot of info, a lot of love on this, because we laughed our asses off when Gene brought him up 2 months ago, and his name keeps popping up. Wudi, give me your hot 30-second take on Darnold and the improvements he needs to make.
I love Sam Darnold. You know, I am one of the few Jet fans that still. Yeah, I wore his jersey the other day on this pod. I think he does have all the tools. He has all the physical tools. Kyle Shanahan is the best coach for him. It's about Brock. Can he beat Brock, or will Brock beat himself and get hurt? You know, but if we see Darnold on the field, I think people will be very surprised. There's a reason why they brought him in. And one last thing I'll say, because my 30 seconds is probably up, it should be very concerning that every single head coach. Darnold's been in the league 5 years, and every single head coach that he's had is not even in the league anymore. It's not even let's make him an OC. They don't exist. Adam Gase works at Sonic, the drive-through. Okay,
they got snapped out of the league.
Skates, delivering hot dogs. Okay, Matt Rule. I don't even know what Matt Rule is doing. So to have Darnold with an actual good coach, dare I say one of the best coaches in the league, we will be amazed if he does touch the field.
Caleb, 30 seconds on Sam Darnold and what he can do to improve, or is he going to be one of the most improved?
No. I love Gene, and I'll give it because I think Sam is already good. So It's not about improving. He's just going to go do what he does. He's on a better team. So if he's good, which I believe he is, he should do that. So real quick, I think it's going to be Justin Fields. I'm going to give it to Justin Fields. He got my boy Moore up there. I love Moore. I used to use him all the time when he was on the Cardinals and Madden. He was so super fast, and people didn't know who he was, and it was just ridiculous. That team I had, I was killing people with it. So I love Moore. I think him there with Fields, I think Fields is going to improve as much as he can with his accuracy as far as throwing, but his legs never fail. So that is a nasty combination. So I'm going to give it to Fields, but Sam Darnold, I think, will go out and do what he does if he gets the opportunity. He's on a fantastic team. I mean, how can you miss when you got my boy Debo out there? So there's that.
Yeah, love it. I have
and Kittles and Ayuk and Brandon Ayuk and CMC. I mean, damn. Because Kittles is number 2 tight end in the league to me. Number 2. And he's a lot, and to Kelsey, and he's like right there. I love Kittles. I think Kittles is a monster.
He is.
He's a beast. And I've Justin Fields as my on my list as well as like my honorable mention, because I think it's like, yeah, man, who are we kidding, right? We all know it, so we want him. I feel like there's a genuine love for this gentleman. We want him to succeed. Wudi, give me one or two of your give me one of your most improved QBs. Caleb, will go back to you with maybe if you have another one, and then Wudi last one. So Wudi, what do you got? Give me one.
Yeah, I actually broke it down into like two categories of like somebody who sucked, like somebody who we've seen, right, be a franchise guy and then sucked last year, and are they going to bounce back, right? Like Russell, right? That's like something like Russell, or a never was like ascending, which would be like a Fields.
Okay,
So for the never was like Fields, and this is why I was shocked, Nigel, is because of the hat you're wearing. I know we're talking about them later, but I'm going to talk a little bit about them right now. Kenny Pickett. Yep. I don't think, we want to talk about master class and how Caleb had the master class before. The Steelers are putting on a master class of how you build around a young QB. They have so many weapons.
Yeah.
George Pickens. They signed Allen Robinson for nothing. Deontay Johnson, the tight end Freiermuth is above average. Yep. The line was reinforced to protect this boy from the grown men in the AFC North that are trying to hurt him.
Yep.
The coaching staff, Mike Tomlin, is one of the absolute best coaches in all of football.
Still has never had a losing season. Yep.
What could they have done? What more could they have done? They've done everything. Najee Harris is of the most talented running backs in the entire league. Kenny, you got to know when to hold him, right? And right now, I feel like this is his time. Like I literally, if he does not take a leap forward, I don't know why. Because this has been built up perfectly for him. So he just has to breathe, and he should be able to take a giant leap.
I agree with you. Trust me, I was going to get there if nobody else did. He was on my list. This is the sole reason why I'm wearing the hat today, because I just we're going to talk about improvements. It's going to be this guy, because he has just shown us everything you want to see in a rookie quarterback. You want to see the failures early, and then you want to see the improvement. You want to see him learn from his mistakes, which he did. He beat the Raiders and the Ravens, which made him the first rookie to throw game-winning touchdown passes in the final minutes of back-to-back games. He's the first rookie to do that. Listen, I know there's a lot of stats out there that inflate tires and inflate egos, but these are those little things, those little wins that you need for a guy of his age and of his stature playing with a franchise that is this big. Mm-hmm. Get those little wins, help them pump your tires a little bit, bring it back, run it back, let's play. And to your point, Wudi, there's a lot of pieces around him now that are this should be a no-brainer, man. This should be a win-win situation in one of the hardest divisions of football. Caleb, who do you got next on your list?
Well, first I'm going to say it's not the hardest division in football. Everybody knows.
Okay.
No, I'm just teasing. It's really hard. AFC North, AFC East, NFC East, those are nasty. And if the Raiders were any good, the AFC West would be a gauntlet as well. It really would, because at least at minimum it's 3 teams, and I don't think Denver's going to be just a cakewalk. You know what I mean? So there's that. But I digress. So the question is, who do I see as the best improved outside of Justin Fields? I'm going to go out on a limb because it's easy to say Russell Wilson. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say somebody else that you guys are going to be like, you've lost your mind. But I'm gonna go with the Baker, man. I'm gonna go with old Baker down in Tampa. I think he might listen. You know how bad of seasons he's had? If he has a halfway decent season, it's gonna be most improved. Like, you know what I'm saying?
He's on my list too, man. He's on my list too.
I'm gonna go with Baker. I have to admit, I have a soft spot for Mr. Mayfield because I'm the type of person, when I like your personality, I'll go for you. And what I mean is, when I see him doing those commercials, I'm like, dude, it's hilarious. I enjoy it. You know what I mean? So I'm rooting for him. I want to see him do well because he gets killed. Like, he gets obliterated. You would think he's like never did it. Like you don't even know why he's in the league the way he gets talked about. You know what I mean? So I'm rooting for him to just do something. So that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go out on the limb and I'm gonna say Mr. Mayfield.
Amazing. Wudi, do you have anybody else that you want to mention?
Yeah, I'll mention my Return to Form award.
Yes, please do. Yes.
So my top
award.
four was Russell. I can't put him. I didn't put him. At the top of that list. Matthew Stafford. I think we will. As long as he's healthy, I think he should be good. Kyler Murray is somebody who gets too much flack. He gets so much flack, but he's actually extremely talented.
Yeah.
Does not have a great O-line. Lost DeAndre Hopkins. So now he's just trying to make do with Hollywood Brown. So I couldn't give him the award over the actual winner, Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
Singing his praises all month. You know what I'm saying? This man, he was elite. Literally the best of the best in that class. 2020, we're looking at those stats. 33 touchdowns, 7 picks. Look at that. Almost 5,000 yards on a 70% completion. The boy is accurate. He's fast. They used to call him MJ, like Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? This boy, he has issues with the organization. Everybody was having issues with Bill O'Brien at that time. And then sits out, gets himself into some trouble. His mind, his mental, there's so much recalibration that's needed to be done these last 2 years, physically, mentally, spiritually. I feel there's just so much recalibration that this is the time. Now, that time has elapsed, and now you step into a season with a top 5 running back, top 5 O-line, tremendous defense, weapons, everything you need. Everything you need, all right? So it's just like Pickett. I just feel like there's too much in front of them to not take that major leap.
Yeah, and as you saw in those stats, Pat, if you want to show those one more time, if you saw in those stats from 2018 to 2020, this guy was an absolute monster. He's an absolute monster. Look at those numbers, man. Yards, 4,000, 3,000, 4,000. You just shy of 5,000. It was ridiculous. He was averaging 8 and 9 and 8. It was crazy, the numbers that this guy put up. So you're right. I think using the term recalibration is spot on, because that's what it is. He's got to do a lot of work. Pardon the sirens. A lot of action up here in the city. Shout out to Toronto and just how ridiculous it is with sirens all the time. So with that being said, thank you very much, Wudi. Thank you, Caleeb, for the 2 categories. I love it so much. We're going to move on to our very last topic of the day. Let's talk about the outlook. We got some more predictions. And you know what? I'm going to jump off with this one. I'm going to jump off to Caleeb, because you had brought up Baker Mayfield. So there's a couple more points that we can talk about, because we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and how they are looking for the 2023 season. Woo! Okay, some heavy lifting. Caleeb, hit us.
Okay. I think, you know what? I don't think they're going to win the division.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's a good start.
I don't. Right? I don't believe that. If the Saints sign Kareem Hunt, I think that's a foregone conclusion. Who wins that division, right? But I do expect them to be competitive. The one thing I will say is that Mike Evans has a big chip on his shoulder. He's very upset. He feels he's being disrespected as far as his talent. So he's going to want to go out there and perform. So that may help Baker, because he may be calling Baker saying, hey, let's get together. Let's work on some, let's try to build this thing between us. Let's get Godwin out here. Because they want to prove that it wasn't just the greatness of Tom Brady that came and he elevates you guys. You win a Super Bowl, he leaves and you can't even, place. Right. So I think it's going to be a little bit of that. So I'm excited to see it. And so I'm predicting 3rd place. That's what I'll say. It could easily be 4th, but I'm gonna predict 3rd, because I don't think they beat Atlanta. I think Atlanta's too much. I think Atlanta will do it, but who knows? But I'm predicting Saints, Atlanta, and then the Bucs right there in the 3rd.
Wudi, we're talking about the Bucs, and we're trying to salvage anything that they have to bring to their division. What do you think?
Believe it or not, because I know we pile on the Bucs a lot. We do, and I know you're right. Like Caleeb, he's trying to lift up Baker. Allow me to lift up some people as well from that Super Bowl team. Right, more than half of this year's starters were on that team.
Oh,
so it's still very much that team, but I feel like the core elements that push that team over the top no longer exist. And I'm not talking about Antonio Brown. I'm talking about the coach, the QB, and the O-line. I feel like those three things, like whenever we do one of these outlooks, those are the three things I look at is the coach. How do I feel about the coach and what they do, like their X's and O's and how they relate to players? The QB, same thing. How do they relate to their players, X's and O's and physical talent? And then the trench warfare, like are they going to be able to stop the other teams? And they went from Bruce Arians, great coach, to Todd Bowles.
I'm sorry, what?
Bowles, horrible defensive coordinator that's just wearing a hat that's too big for his bald head. And then they went from the GOAT, Tom Brady, TB12, Baker Mayfield.
I'm sorry,
Baker three-chin Mayfield. You've seen the with the new Bucs gear. He's out here. It looks like he's wearing pads, but that's just him. That's just rolls because he's just been eating in the offseason. It's crazy. And then this O-line actually was decimated last year. Right. It was one of the most injured O-lines in all of football, and that's why Tom Brady suffered. I think he looked at the line and said, "Oh, I can't come back next year. I'm 46. I can't come back," because Ryan Jensen, their elite center, was out in training camp. He was out. They lost their left guard in training camp. Then their right guard leaves in free agency. Their offensive line was in shambles. This year, Ryan Jensen's back, but we don't know because as we've talked about many times on this podcast, Achilles, right? Do they come back the same? We don't know. So that's something there. They are in such dire straits that Tristan Wirfs, their right tackle, they're like, we got to move you to the left tackle, right? Because we all know, right, the left tackle is that premium position. So they have him switched, which is not something that's very common for linemen. They actually don't like the movements from right side to left side are completely different. They have him seeing a shrink. They literally brought in a team psychiatrist to help Tristan Wirfs deal with the switch from right tackle to left tackle. The O-line is not looking good right now. Right? So when you take all those three things, I love the starters that were still there for the Super Bowl. I love Mike Evans. I completely agree with what Caleb's talking about. Chris Godwin. On the other side, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, these are tremendous players. But when your coach is Todd Bowles and
I'm sorry, what?
Is Baker three-chin Mayfield, and your O-line is seeing a shrink, trying to figure out their whole life, I don't think it's going to be good. So they could win, or they could be third in the division. They'll probably be fourth, and I'm thinking 4 to 6 wins.
4 to 6 wins. Okay. All right. Listen, I have zero to add to that, so we're going to move on to the next team. The next squad, who is, whose name is still yet to be desired, but they could shock a couple people again, because for the last 3 seasons, this team has been continuously in the mix, but they're always left on the table and nobody decides to pick up that fruitcake. Let's talk about the Washington Commanders. Wudi, let's start with you. We'll end with Caleeb. Wudi, let's talk about the Washington Commanders. What do you think?
I like the Commanders. Like what Caleeb said, AFC North, NFC East, AFC East, right? All those don't have a bad team. And the Commanders, for some reason, they get a lot of flack. Like, I see things that's talking about, they're going to pick first in the next year's draft. I was like, do you know what the Commanders did last year?
Yeah.
They had they were in playoff contention until the second to last week of the season. Like that don't even make sense. And what did they do in this offseason? They got healthier. They got better, right? We talk about coaches. I like Ron Rivera as a coach and what he's doing with the defense and offense, right? Like I said, what he's doing with the defense. So what happened offensively? Offensively, they got Eric Bieniemy, the protege, if you will, of Andy Reid. He's been with Andy Reid for almost the entirety of his time in Kansas City. And we always talk about, is Bieniemy going to get a head coaching job? Is he going to get a head coaching job? And then the clapback is, he doesn't call the plays. Andy Reid calls the plays. So this is his chance, right? Somebody who wants to be a head coach, this is his chance to now take the reins of an offense and make it his. With Ron Rivera doing what he's doing, Bieniemy doing what he's doing, you look at the rosters, Scary Terry, John Dodson, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, a lot of great players on that side. What about the other side? De'Aaron Payne just got paid $90 million this offseason, right? We got Chase Young, right? We got guys on both sides. If you look at that D line, that's actually one of the most stout D lines in football. That's how the NFC East is built. Every NFC East team is just D line, like elite D line. And then if you're the Eagles and Cowboys, you also have a great O line. Right. But that trench warfare in the NFC East is crazy. So the Commanders, after all that praise that I'm giving them, they are still almost certainly going to be last in their division. It sucks. But they're such a good team. But they're just not. They're not even close to the Eagles or Cowboys, and they are close to the Giants. But that depends on Sam Howell. We don't know anything about Sam Howell. We know that Daniel Jones can be propped up and like Weekend at Bernie's, just make him do random things and throw a nice little, slant to Saquon. But Sam Howell, we don't know. So that will determine if they can surpass the Giants or not.
Well, right now, the biggest conversation piece around the Washington Commanders, shockingly, is the intensity of Bieniemy. Like, that is what the offense is actually freaking out about, is that his intensity is too much. Get out of the huddles quicker, call the plays faster. Guys, that's what you want in a coach. You want the intensity, so you get used to that intensity, so you play with that intensity. It's not too early to hang out with intensity, because once you get to the game, once you get to week one, you want to start there. You want to have the bar raised real high, so then you have nowhere else to go but up. But again, I digress. Caleeb, hit me. Washington Commanders, feelings, thoughts, insight.
I agree with Wudi wholeheartedly. I think they always perform. Shoot, they beat us last year when they weren't supposed to. We lost that game, and they beat us. They took it from us. They did what they supposed to do, but that's what happens in the interdivisional games. Those games, always a toss-up. But here's what I'm going to say about the Bieniemy situation, because I agree, and I think that was messed up. I felt that was what they did to him. He doesn't call the plays. It's always something when it comes to us. Always something. They even try to throw stuff on Tomlin, right? And they just really can't. But they'll just try to come up with something. But you can't debate never had a losing season. Stop it, okay? But there's always a thing when it comes to people that look like us in those certain positions, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to leave that where it may. Here's what I'm going to say that I don't like, and I feel like Bieniemy is going to take the flack from this, and it's not going to be the organization's fault. It's going to be looked at as his. He don't have a quarterback. He's coming from having Patrick Mahomes, arguably people are already trying to call him the greatest quarterback of all time. You know what I mean? Like the hype around Patrick, and he has delivered.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a quarterback. He doesn't have Jalen Hurts. He don't even have Dak Prescott. Right? He don't even have Daniel Jones. You know what I mean? And in the NFL, you that's like having a Ferrari with a Mazda engine. And I'm talking about the old school Mazda, like the RX-7.
The 626.
Yeah, man. Like you see what I'm saying? But he's gonna take that. It's gonna be like, look at his. I thought he was a genius. Look at his offense. Right? Like, that's what it's going to be. And I feel like that's not fair because he doesn't have a great quarterback. And not take great out because great is hard to find. A lot of teams don't have a great quarterback, but he don't even have somebody that's like good, somebody that you're looking like, okay. If he had a Kenny Pickett, you just like, oh.
But
okay.
we don't. I feel like you kind of like we don't know what Sam Howell is. We literally don't know.
That's true.
Like
we don't know, but I just feel like if Sam isn't that dude, Eric is gonna take the blame for it, right? I feel like Eric needs like you want that with the quarterback that you know that you can get or at least believe in, like Justin Herbert, right? We didn't know, but he came in and people were like, "Yo, I don't know." But that dude looked like he gonna be something, right? It's like that kind of thing is what I'm talking about. He don't have that, and I think I think that's if it doesn't work out well, it's gonna be. We told you.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, and that's the part I feel like isn't fair. But I digress. I think they'll do okay. I think it'll be between them and the Giants for last place because just don't think because Saquon took that deal that he's happy. Don't think like it's all sweet and good over there. That stuff bleeds into your team, man. Just malcontent breathes into the team. That's why they always say one rotten apple spoils the bunch. That's a real idea. That's a malcontented person in the area, and now it bleeds into the others. Because now you're like, yeah, that's right. They didn't take care of you. That woman, man. Right? Now everybody's minds are in the different spots. And I think when you're competing for those positions, it will cause an effect. So I think it'll be between the Giants and the Commanders for third place. I don't see Dallas going lower than second. Of course not. I just don't. Not with that defense, barring injury. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. But that's my only thing about the Bieniemy situation.
And thank you for that insight, because jumping on to the New York Giants very quickly, I did have Daniel Jones as one of my hoping to see some improvement from a quarterback. I did have him in the honorable mention as well, only because of the Saquon situation, because Daniel Jones has to throw more and he has to be more accurate. There's things that need to happen to keep that machine moving in a way that's also been very shocking.
It probably will result into more interceptions. Yeah. Like you gotta throw more, but it's gonna be like more picks.
Yeah. Listen, so I walked right into that. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. But so there's a lot of improvement that needs to be there in general. And so our last, but definitely not least, the aforementioned, the team that gets me jacked up, and I will try to contain my excitement for this, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're our last team we're talking about for the outlook and predictions. Wudi said a whole bunch of great things about the Steelers. That is fact. So that way with that being said, we will start with Caleeb. Caleeb, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you see? What do you predict? How does that outlook look?
I think they're going to be part of the most competitive division this season. Mm-hmm. I think that the injury to Burrow is going to play a factor into it. I think Pickett's rise is going to play a major factor into it. It's going to put a lot of pressure on Deshaun and Lamar because they're going to be coming to play. Here's the thing. Mike Tomlin is a first ballot Hall of Fame, no questions asked, phenomenal coach. So he knows what he's doing. I think the team believes in Kenny. I think Wudi mentioned earlier all the weapons that the Steelers have acquired on the offensive side for Kenny, right? It's not going to be a joke. It's going to put a lot of pressure on Watson, Jackson, and Burrow. God forbid Burrow's not in there, because then it's over for Cincinnati. That's how competitive that division will be, because that's how important the quarterbacks are. And I do not think Kenny I think he's only improved and will only continue. So I'm predicting the Steelers play big time spoiler to Bengals, Browns, and Raven aspirations this season, where they need a win and they got to play Pittsburgh and they don't get one. That type of stuff. You know what I mean? So I on paper they're supposed to be last, but it is not a foregone conclusion at all. And I would be surprised Like, they might be in last place with 9 wins.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
that kind
crazy.
of division.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so, I'm looking to see. I have high hopes for the Steelers this season. They are not pushovers. I think they're going to play spoiler to the big 3 in that division. And I pray that Watson has a great season, because if he doesn't, oh God,
Yeah.
it's a tragedy.
And you talked about the standings. So the standings from last year: Cincinnati went 12-4, Baltimore 10-7, Pittsburgh 9-8, Cleveland 7-10. There's still multiple wins no matter how much you lose. It's the division is so aggressive, and everybody knows what's at stake. Wudi, give it to me. Give me your hot take, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, as you know, and you know what? I know you're trying to contain your excitement, so I will just live through me. Take my hand and live through me for the next 45 seconds as we talk about what has been quietly, and I'm not saying it quietly, but it happened quietly, one of the best off seasons in the NFL. Mike Tomlin, you want to talk about recalibration?
Yes, I do.
Exactly what he needed from this line. He said, I don't like the left side. So you draft Broderick Jones. You trade up. He traded up, draft Broderick Jones. Then you get a Pro Bowl caliber left guard from the Eagles. They know a whole lot about trench warfare, and you get him in there. All right. So now Najee is feeling better about his third time's the charm. Kenny will be able to stand upright and look at the field as these new shiny weapons like Allen Robinson, George Pickens, and Deontay Johnson are running through that field, running those routes. Then on the other side of the ball, right, the steel curtain, if you will, they lost T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt was gone, right? This was the least amount of games that this boy has played. It's only 10 games. Now, if he's healthy, and now you got the cornerback Patrick Peterson with Joey Porter Jr. on the outside. So you got the pressure, and now you got the secondary. This is a very scary team. I will say probably about 4 or 5 teams. I'll say the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Niners, the Browns, and the Steelers are the only teams in the entire league that have a potential to have a top 5 O-line and D-line in the NFL this year. That is scary.
Yeah.
Now, to say all that, and they still come in last place, damn, boy, what is up with the league? What is up with the league? It's kind of like, I feel like they are like the Commanders. I think they're a good team that's in a really good division, and they're not caught up. The Steelers, I think they're a great team that's in a really good division, and they're there. But when push comes to shove and it's a shootout, right? Even with the good defenses, a shootout between the Browns and the Steelers, or the Ravens and the Steelers, or the Bengals and the Steelers, I feel like I'm taking Joey B or Lamar or Deshaun if he has returned to form over Pickett. Like I just feel like, yes, like Caleb said, they might be last place with like 9 wins. They might be spoilers. They could obviously very well win the division as well. Like, we don't know. That division is truly
injuries change everything.
Any team can be first or last. It's crazy.
The one thing I'll say about this with the Steelers, their only issue, and it's my opinion, and I could absolutely be wrong, but I think their only weakness on defense is Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, you have said that before.
Because he's older, and you got these young boys. Like, and each one of the teams, the Ravens, Browns, and Bengals, have a receiver who will eat that for lunch. Like, are you kidding me? Right? So if he's slipping in any way, which he has to be, that's where the hole is, right? In a passing league. That's where the hole is. So that's the only thing I'll say. And I mean like this, where it's 4th and 8, and you need to get this first down so you can kick the field goal and win, or take the knee, and you throw to Patrick Peterson side and you get the reception and boom. Like that kind of thing, because his reaction isn't as fast. His mind is still sharp, but It's like it's a second behind. It's like when a boxer gets old. It's like, oh, here comes the punch. Damn it. Like they saw it, but he couldn't move before it got there. It's like that. You know what I mean? So that's my only thing when I see when it starts getting competitive, because that's when it's truly a game of inches. That's when those things matter. When the game is close and you need something, that's when those things show up. So that's the only thing I'm would make me pick one of the teams over the Steelers in a pressured situation. Is that?
And that makes sense.
I would attack. If I was an offensive coordinator, I would attack him immediately.
You see that old man? Throw it there.
What? Run towards him and cut. Run towards him and cut. This ain't 10 years ago when you better not run towards him and think you're going to cut. He's going to drive on that ball so quick and be all that. But it's not there no more. You know what I mean? The mind is, he can see it. He just can't stop it. That's
you're not wrong, because we got a couple like mid to later in ages, like just before their 30s, backups in Levi Wallace and James Pierre. I mean, and those guys have garnered their 33 and their 28 or whatever solo tackle. So we do have some backups, but you're right. You are right, because the premier guy is going to be Patrick
Peterson. When he's in the game. If he's not in the game, everything changes. But I'm saying when he's in the game, I
got you. So I feel like it's one of those things where, you put Patrick Peterson in there for the threat early. And then once the game's maybe halftime or third quarter, because third quarter, notoriously, the Steelers, a lot of teams come out very flat in the third quarter. I'm going to say that because it's just after you rested and you got to warm up again. But that mid third quarter towards the beginning of the fourth, Steelers notoriously are just slower than everybody else. Then they really ramp up mid-fourth, and sometimes that can be too late. That can be too late for you to get back into the game, or a big play happens. To your point, Caleb, let's throw it towards the old man because he's run down now. His bones got a little colder, and so he's taking a lot longer to warm up. I get it.
Please don't let it be a cold winter.
Oh, God. Yeah.
You're going to learn about them knees real quick and that lower back, that stiffness.
Yep.
Serious.
God, I live in the North. I know.
Yeah, buddy. Hell yeah.
I know.
You get them T-Rex arms. You just be right here. Anything that ain't here.
Coach, I tried, but it was outside of this.
Listen, right here. This is your window.
Listen, boys, I've had the most fun hanging out with you two and filling in for Gene. Gene, thank you for letting me do this. It's been great. To finish off this very fun time with Nigel in the game, I got a little segment called Did You See It? And what that is I'll start, and then I'm gonna ask each one of you if you saw something in the sports news, or maybe in just entertainment news that you saw that you think nobody else saw. So I'm going to start. And what I think that is the University of Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, they put out a promo video for their new green uniforms, this nice green, a true to form uniform. And they did a Jerry Maguire Show Me the Money parody. Did you guys see it?
Oh, no.
I did not see that.
That's what I'm talking about. So they dropped it last week, I believe, maybe the week before. Make sure you check out on the socials. It is very, very well done, super fun. And then the unis, they speak for themselves, because we all know that the Notre Dame has probably, I would say, the top 5 best uniforms in terms of tradition, in terms of the colorways. That navy or that green that they pull out, and the gold helmets, it's a wrap. So let's go here. Caleb, you got anything that you're just oh, did you see it?
Yeah. So, do you know that there is a balloon league now where you play balloons? You know when you were 6 and you fill up the balloon with air and you tap it and you play with your cousin, let's make it not hit the floor. Yeah. And whoever lets it drop, you lose. It's that. And what they do is they wear helmets and they put obstacles like a room. So there's a couch, there's an end table. There was even one with a car. And it's 2 people, and the ref sets up the balloon, and then your job is to keep it from falling. So one dude hits it, you got to run and dive and hit it and get up. It's hilarious, and it's a real sport now. and it's ballooning. If you guys haven't seen it, it's genius. Look it up. You can see it. It's a real competition. Dudes are taking this serious. They're wearing helmets. They're drinking water and Gatorade. They're warming up. They're stretching. They're doing all the necessary things to become the balloon champion. So you can't make this stuff up.
Where do I send in my resume? I feel like I'd be pretty decent. I feel like I can get ranked. I can get ranked.
I was the king.
That's ridiculous.
Oh man, I could do with 2 balloons. Boom, boom, boom. Oh man, listen. I'm like, if they start making some money, I might have to, you know what I'm saying, make a small way into that. Man, I love my special appearance. You understand? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. Last but not least, Wudi, what do you got? Did you see it? What did we miss?
You guys have probably seen this. Almost have certainly seen this, but it caught my eye because I almost never watch baseball. But I guess I wasn't watching baseball. I was watching this boxing match between Tim Henderson and Jose Ramirez. Threw down the gloves and then got sat down. Craziness. I don't know. I haven't seen hands thrown like that in like a non-hockey Big Four league in a long time.
Well, yeah, it was interesting because when you watch other athletes, so that aren't boxers, that don't know how to actually throw a punch and just kind of like wildly, just kind of like they vaguely have an idea from like a movie they watch, but when it connects, it can be devastating. Caleb, you were gonna say something. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was like, so I saw Anderson get dropped, right? And I'm laughing because he squared up like this. I'm like, dude, I'm not a fighter, but I know it's here because punches are coming to your chin, not your chest. Why are you protecting your chest? Why are you doing this? That's why he got stretched. And when he got stretched, he threw his left, which he had low, like this. So homeboy came in with the right and caught him on this chin while he was doing this, and it folded him. I'm like, duh. Like, dude, at minimum, just go here. You're on a baseball field. Use your glove. Brother, put your glove up. Do something. Like it was just funny. He was here. I was like, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. You know what I mean? So, and then when I seen him get dropped, and then he want to get up and he all mad. Have you ever seen Harlem Nights? There's a scene in Harlem Nights where Eddie Murphy is kind of trolling Della Reese, and she's challenging him to a fight, and he's like, "Hold me back, sugar, hold me back."
Oh yeah,
that's what that was like. Like he knew he didn't want no part of Ramirez because he already got dropped. So he wait till his boys, and he's like, "Oh, you want to do all this?" Like he was gonna do something. They should have been like, "Go ahead." He'd be like, no, he didn't want that. Man. He did not want that. He just wanted to show out because he knew he got dropped and everybody saw it. He got to go home and talk to his mama and them and be like, he said, he snuck me, mama. He snuck me. She's like, nah, baby, he ain't sneaky. He caught you with that thing.
Yeah, everybody saw it coming. Yeah.
So that was very funny to me. I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, just take it, Anderson. Stop acting like you was finna do something. He's showing out. He back in the dugout still. Like, stop it.
Well, listen, that's an amazing way to end the show. And those guys, that was between the White Sox and the Guardians. So make sure you, if you can find the clip. A bunch of suspensions were handed out yesterday, I think, for that fight. But listen, what a great time this was. Thank you so much for listening to the pod. But let's go to our last words before we sign off. Wudi, what do you got?
This might be my last show for a little bit. Baby Wudi is on her way.
There you go.
So, I just want to, let everybody know that it's not John Q. This is from John Q, right? It's not goodbye. It's see you later, right? I'll definitely be back, much more tired, many more bags under my eyes than they are right now, but it'll all be good. So
amazing. Thank you, Wudi, and congratulations to you and the fam. And I hope everything goes well and according to plan.
Absolutely.
Caleb, what do you got?
All right, everybody. It is a beautiful day in southern Los Angeles. I tell you that. It is a wonderful, wonderful day here. Hopefully it's not too hot. It'll be like mid-80s, which is like a huge relief because it's been like 300 degrees for a month straight. So I would just say spread love. It's the Brooklyn way, y'all.
Woo! On behalf of Gene, Patty, and myself, Nigel Downer, this has been the new and improved The Positivity Pop-Off Podcast, because that's what we did. Even though some of those teams were real bad, we still shone some light on them and found the positivity of it. Ladies and gentlemen, folks, friends, everybody, family, have a good weekend, because you know what? Or have a good week, I should say, because it's only Tuesday. But you know what? I'm going to buy a hat today. Peace, and we out!
That's the pop-off for today, folks. Thank you to all of our listeners, as well as our producers, Patty Puddles and Fareed Kameo. And make sure you tune in tomorrow to hear what these hooligans will pop off about next.